Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to go over one of the dilemmas in my build that I have not made a decision on, which is my steering. So we talked about a while back about we need to move that power steering reservoir to make space. So that's true. My air filter doesn't fit. Granted, it also won't fit when I move it, but it will be getting closer. But it's kind of a problem. A lot of people have told me to just get rid of the power steering, and these are people that have done it, so I kind of trust them. However, I tried to do this back in, I think, 2014, and I followed the how to depower a Miata steering rack from Flying Miata, which is, if I remember right, I just opened this, but I'm pretty sure it's basically you just loop the lines to do it. Hell, maybe not. Maybe this does tell you how to disassemble it. But on mine, I just looped the lines. So I just got the fluid out that I could, looped the lines, and that was about it. And it sucked. It was hard to steer at low speed, which you kind of expect, but it was horrible. Even going like 40 miles an hour, it was bad. I never knew why, but I knew I couldn't drive it that way. It'd take like two hands to turn the wheel, even at speed. It was bad. So anyway, I think I finally figured it out. After Google searching, it looks like too much caster can make it really hard to steer. So that's probably, I don't know, I'm sure plenty of people already knew that, but I didn't. And I do remember back when I first bought the car and I had it aligned, I told them to like max out the caster, and I think they put it to like 7 degrees or 8 degrees. It was something like that. And that's probably why it was so hard to steer. So now I kind of know that I need to get the car aligned for having a manual rack. So here's what we're thinking. We've got kind of two options. Option one, we go with the manual rack. So we actually have a spare, the original rack that I depowered, that I just looped the lines. I still have it. I didn't think I did, but I just found it earlier. A friend of mine on the forums by the name of Nuaza brought this up to me about, oh, you should just get rid of the power steering. And I kind of thought about it and I was like, man, I wonder if I still have a steering rack. And sure enough, I do. So that's one option, is we're going to try to depower a rack the correct way. And it sounds like from everything I'm reading on the internet, this may be the ticket. We just depower the rack. It looks like you got to take them apart and weld the little pinion gear to get rid of the slack, take it apart, get rid of the seals, lube it up, put it back together. It looks like stuff we could handle. So that's definitely an option, and we already have the steering rack, so that's even a low cost option. And we should be able to weld the pinion. I may have to buy some special filler or something, but that's no big deal. So that's one option. Here's the other option. They make a Toyota put a electric hydraulic power steering pump in the Toyota MR2. Now it appears they did this in a couple different, like the early MR2s and then the later MR2s. So like the early ones had a brushed DC motor and they were loud, and then the newer model ones from like 2000 to 2006, those are brushless DC motors, and apparently all the computers are integrated, and they're a fairly straightforward swap. Which the downside of them being a fairly straightforward swap is that people buy them, so they cost $250 for a used one, and that's about the cheapest price I've found. So we may go that route. The upside of that is potentially that we'll still have our hydraulic power steering, which is actually, I think that's my preference. Maybe if I drove a really good depowered rack, I'd change my mind, but right now my preference would be to actually keep power steering. So, if we could do that, that may be a good option. The downside is I would have to purchase that pump. So the cheapest I found is $250 used with shipping. So say we buy that pump, we got to wait for it to come in. We're at a minimum, we're going to have to wire it up, and it likely won't come with plugs. So I'm sure there's probably stuff on the internet that tells you how to roughly do it, but there'll be some time invested in figuring that out. We may have to buy some connectors. We'll definitely have to do wiring, and I think it said it pulls like 50 amps. So that's, we got to run big wires, relays, big fuses. That'll take some time to wire it up properly. So there's some time. We got to install this thing somewhere. So that'll be fun, figuring out where it'll fit. I'm sure it'll need a bracket, maybe two, custom hoses to connect it to the rack. There could be some other stuff that pops up that I don't even know about. The one obvious thing is the electrical load on the car. Now, I've read they only pull like 4 amps at idle, so that's not bad, but maybe under steering, that could be an issue if they pull 50 amps, because I've already got a lot of electrical stuff running on this car. So it's not a perfect solution, but it could be a solution. So if we go to the electric power steering pump, we can get rid of the reservoir and the pump, which could be definitely beneficial. I should probably I'll do another video on that, but I need to move that power steering pump. I need space to put other things that are driven by pulleys on the car. So that either way, I would like to get rid of the power steering pump if possible. So moving the reservoir, while that solves my air filter problem potentially, it doesn't get rid of the pump. And that's one of the reasons I'm considering the manual rack or doing the electric hydraulic power steering. So anyway, that's kind of the stuff, some of the stuff we're thinking about on this power steering. We may end up doing this. So I'm gonna do a little bit more research. I've already put maybe an hour into this, so I'm gonna do a little bit more, see if I can find anything else definitive. Maybe some video reviews. I should probably do that. See what people think on those pumps. But I'm kind of leaning towards this manual rack option, and one of the reasons is, and again, I've had plenty of people tell me this, and I know they're right, it's just simplicity. It's simpler, it's lighter, there's less things to break. With electric hydraulic power steering, you got another pump, you got a motor, you got custom hoses, we got custom wiring. It's got to fit somewhere, you're adding weight, complexity, there's just all this stuff. Now, it might be good. That's a lot of stuff to add. So if we can get 80 or 90% of the happiness factor just doing a manual rack conversion, then we may just do that and save if we do this and it's good enough, we'll leave it. And if we really just wish it was a little better, then maybe down the road we'll switch to the electric hydraulic stuff. I can keep the parts, so we could always go back to it. So yeah, that's kind of a change of plans. We're kind of thinking about this. I'm thinking sometime soon I'm gonna I guess figure out how to do this correctly. I think I need to order some filler rods so I can weld that pinion. Apparently you got to do that to get rid of the slop, so might as well. So I may have to figure out what we need to use for that, get that ordered, and go ahead and try to depower a rack. This is kind of important because if I can do this and know that it's going to work, then I can go ahead and pull the power steering pump, pull the reservoir, pull the hoses, get the rack swapped out, and then we don't have to worry about that space problem in that area anymore, which is nice. I'd clean the engine bay up a little bit as well and make room for future plans. So this is definitely something we're going to do something. We were previously planning on moving the reservoir. Now I'd say there's like a 80 or 90% chance that reservoir's getting removed from the car one way or another. So anyway, there's my little update on the steering. If anybody's watching this that has depowered a Miata steering rack, please let me know, basically how it was before and after. Because, I know what it's like before. So if you drove the car, say you bought it, you had power steering, and then you depowered it yourself, let me know what you think. Do you love it? Is it really, basically it's speed, because I know it's going to have effort in the parking lot, and I'm okay with that. My real question is, if I'm driving 20, 25 miles an hour, and I'm steering left and right, how bad is it? So if you've got it, let me know how it is. All right, guys, take it easy.